And what are some of the key global issues facing phosphorus, such as environmental, political, economical challenges?
So the problem is that just because phosphorus helps crops grow, it also helps things grow in water that we don't want to grow. So what we need to do is we need to prevent it from running out of agricultural soils into the waters, the rivers, the estuaries, where it actually causes a build-up of undesirable aquatic plants, which kind of undermine the ecosystem and ultimately stop biodiversity. That's no good.
Mainly from an efficiency in agriculture. We put a lot of phosphorus onto our agricultural systems and it's used quite ineffectively, and it doesn't matter whether we're in a phosphorus deficient situation, a phosphorus replete situation, there's inefficiencies, and we've got to tackle those inefficiencies for future sustainability.
There are a lot of challenges for sustainable phosphorus use. Again, in developing countries, a lot of it is social and political, which I'm not involved on that end, but I mean, getting access to it is very social, very political. But what we can do, as in my field, is look at ways to use what's already in those countries more efficiently and more sustainably. So they can't always go out and buy sacks of fertilizer like you can in Europe and North America, but you can, by just changing little things in your system, make it more available to these subsistence farmers. But some of the challenges are, like in tropical soils where I work, a lot of this phosphorus is, even the inorganic, is sorbed to these soil minerals, and it's hard for the plants to get. But by looking at perhaps different species or different ways of cropping, you can use these inorganic sources more efficiently and get them off of these soil minerals and into the plants.
There are many important issues involving phosphorus at the moment on the global scale. For example, it seems like we might be running out of phosphorus. Phosphorus is a finite resource, and so there are limited mineral resources of phosphorus around the world, and they're concentrated in one or two politically sensitive places like Western Sahara and so there's a real issue that we perhaps are running out of phosphorus. Phosphorus fertilizer prices increase, and so this places real demands on agriculture and on scientists to come up with ways of being more efficient with phosphorus. This is a key problem. We also have issues with phosphorus pollution from agriculture, with the associated degradation of watercourses, of eutrophication. And we're also very interested in understanding phosphorus from an ecological perspective. Phosphorus cycling is fundamental in regulating ecosystem productivity and how ecosystems respond to changes in climate, to changes, other environmental changes like nitrogen deposition, and modelers are really struggling at the moment to try and get phosphorus into global change models, into Earth system models, to understand how the world will respond to future changes in climate, for example. So phosphorus is central to many of these really important issues facing science at the moment.
So the main key is to ensure sufficient phosphorus for the crops, and because phosphorus is a limited resource and it's not replaceable, and so if we are running out of phosphorus, the crops, the biomass and the crop production are really endangered. So it's not possible, and so humanity will have big problems, you know. And so the main problem also from a political, geo-economical, political point of view is that actually the resource, the easily available resources of phosphorus in mines are concentrated in some countries. So 2 countries or 3 countries. So really it's a problem, economic and social.
For food production, we need phosphorus fertilizers, or else to utilize phosphorus that's already in the soil. When we apply forms of phosphorus to the soil, they can sometimes cause environmental problems by running off into lakes or waterways where they cause eutrophication.
Yeah, the global implications of all the problems we have with phosphorus now is on one side you do not have enough because the resources they get limited. So the rock phosphate it's limited, so that's the easy available phosphorus that is applied to agricultural fields. And on the other side, we get a lot of accumulation of phosphorus in those soils and then more the natural parts, but it's locked up there. So we need to find a way to reuse that phosphorus instead of trying to get more and more of the rock phosphate. So it is better. There's enough phosphorus now around, so we should reuse it.
The global issue, the biggest global issue to do with phosphorus is actually environmental. It's to do with transfer of phosphorus from land to water, and the downsides of that, the eutrophication, the declines in water quality. On a longer scale, and that's the problem in the West, if you like, in the developed agriculture. There's an opposite problem in the I don't like using the word developing world, but in the really poorer parts of the world, they haven't got enough phosphorus. So you've got one side with too much and one side with too less. So those are the really crucial issues. And so you've really got two scenarios. One is you've got Western agriculture, which has had cheap phosphorus for many, many years, and basically we've abused it. We've used far too much of it, and we've got environmental impacts. On the other hand, you've got poorer countries who are actually desperately short of phosphorus. So you've got these two systems, and then the supply of phosphorus into the market, mainly into the Western market, is actually limited, but it's also more than 50% of the known phosphorus reserves are in one country, that's Morocco. So you can imagine if you had 50% of the world's oil was in one place, you know, how volatile could that be? You can imagine all sorts of scenarios where people could manipulate it or something could go wrong, and it's actually not a very politically stable part of the world either, you know. So that's been a real wake-up call, because we've got this real spike in prices in the late 2007, 2008, and that's focused people's attention on trying to improve efficiency within our systems, which ironically will actually benefit the poor, the impoverished soils in the developing world, because if we can improve the utilisation of phosphorus in the West, then some of that technology, some of that biological technology, if you like, can actually be transferred over there, because their soils have got a lot of phosphorus in them as well. Yeah.
Well, for sure, phosphorus has been a key topic lately. Actually, about 2 weeks ago, there was an important summit in China for the sustainable use of phosphorus. And, well, it has two phases. One phase is that we need it for agriculture, so we need it for food production. And there are areas of the globe where phosphorus is in scarcity. We don't have enough phosphorus. This is, for instance, Africa. On the other hand, we have parts of the globe where we have too much. We think about Europe and the problem of eutrophication. So I think from a social point of view, we have to get to the point where we know how much phosphorus we need to use and not exceed this amount. And at the same time, for everybody, would be to have a better use of the resources, starting from the food consumption to the waste recycling.
Well, I think it's important that we really get better at recycling phosphorus from wastewater. And it's important that we do smarter agriculture, that we understand better how plants and microorganisms interact, and maybe which microorganisms we can use that might help the plant to actually acquire phosphorus from the soil.